Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so today, instead of giving you guys a standard video of how I made my first $1 million sitting behind my desk, I decided to bring you guys along with me on my day, what I'm gonna get done, and let you guys know journey leading up to me making my first mil. So right now we're actually on the way. I'm gonna go to the gas station real quick, pick up Red Bull, and then go to the gym. But this journey of mine started back all the way roughly in 2018 when I first got started trading. So I was 18 years old when I opened up my first live account, and at that time already I was actually working for my dad. I was selling products for him, and I was making pretty decent money for a 17, 18-year-old kid selling products for him. I was making anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 a month at the highest point in just basic commissions, which is pretty solid. So I would say I probably started learning sales skills at that point in time. But what ended up really leading to me making a ton of money wasn't like the job that I had for my dad in sales. It was really all just trading, but I wouldn't say it was like a traditional way of actually making $1 million in trading, just simply because of the way it actually happened. When I first started trading, what I thought consistent profitability to me would have been, okay, you know what, I'm gonna make one deposit into a trading account, and that one trading account is gonna lead up to me making millions and millions of dollars, and that just simply wasn't the case for me. And the way this actually happened, of course, you know, I'm gonna kind of skip the beginning parts of me basically using my earned income to fund my trading accounts in the very beginning, where I remember my very first trading account I ended up depositing was $500 in that account. And I had taken a course at the time, and the course talked about, let's say you take 10 trades. So I thought on a daily basis that I actually had to take 10 trades. And I remember I was looking at the 1 minute time frame, and I was trading at the most random time of the night too. I didn't know about trading sessions. I didn't know when to trade certain instruments. I didn't really know anything about trading. So when I heard from the person that was teaching the course at the time, I don't even remember his name, was that let's say you take 10 trades a day, for example, and each trade you're risking 1 lot or 2 lots or 3 lots at a $50 risk, looking to gain $100 per trade. You know, that will equivalent to whatever profit, and you know, over the period of time this will equivalent to this type of profit. That's what I thought trading was originally in the beginning. So I remember loading up $500 into an unregulated brokerage account to trade Forex, which is hilarious, right? Because I didn't even know how crypto even worked to begin with, and I ended up buying like $500 worth of crypto. I believe it was like on Coinbase, and I ended up sending it over to this unregulated broker. And it was probably like the most random time at night. It was probably like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So I guess you can consider it to be the Asian session, but I didn't know that it was the Asian session. And I ended up taking my very first position on UJ. And I remember I was looking at the 1 minute time frame, but it was super weird too, because I was so zoomed into the charts. Like, it was really only showing like the last maybe 5 1 minute time frame candlesticks. And if I saw price action was going down, I would just enter a short. And I remember my very first trade, I ended up making $50 on, which I was so hyped and excited. I was like, okay, well, I remember writing this down on my notebook. I was like, okay, cool. Then I just made my first $50. On to the next 9 trades for the rest of the night before I call it a day and I move on to the next trading day. And I think I remember like after I ended up losing maybe $50 more, so I was down maybe $50 in the account at like $450. I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna come back tomorrow. I don't think this is the way I'm supposed to be doing it. Let me, you know, watch a few more courses, and then, you know, I'll continue to actually trade, which I ended up losing that account in total, but that's what started my trading career for me. And I remember what I ended up doing to take it more serious was my mom had a little pantry in her house. For those of you guys that have been following me for a while, I already know about this, but my mom had a little bit of a pantry in her house. I completely demolished that pantry. I put a tiny desk in it. I put my computer in it, and I just started putting up different pictures and screenshots of price action and charts and patterns that I've recognized all over the office. I'm sure I still have pictures. Like, I just gotta ask my mom to send them over to me, or look through one of my like super old phones and have them in there. But we just pulled it to the gas station. I'm gonna get a Red Bull real quick. We'll head to the gym. I'll continue swimming. So then, like I was saying prior, right, I'm gonna kind of skip the regular journey of the trial and error where, you know, I tried trading with a ton of different indicators. I started strategy hopping, and it got to the point where I started reading a certain book called Trade Like a Casino, where I understood the fact that it's like, it doesn't matter what trading strategy I'm using, because at the end of the day, trading is all based off of probabilities. So for me to continue to switch my trading strategy, you know, when I hit a losing streak, all I'm doing is delaying the process of me making money consistently over a long period of time. So I'm going to kind of skip to the part where I actually started to make money. And, you know, one of the things that I probably get asked a lot, if I were to restart all over, what would I do differently? I don't think I would do much differently. The only thing I would actually do differently is the type of market that I was actually trading. My watch list was very small, and it was only focused on currencies. What I would focus on would actually open up my watch list, not just trade currencies, but also trade equities and ETFs. And what I mean by equities is also individual stocks. And this is why I kind of started also trading stocks as of recently too, is because the average moves that you'll see in the stock market on a daily basis, and this is over the last 10 years, is anywhere between like 2 to 5% on individual stocks. On ETFs, typically the average move, which when I refer to ETFs, I'm referring to SPY, QQQ, or even like the futures ES and NQ. The average move you'll see on ES and NQ is anywhere between, on a daily basis, on average over the last 10 years, again this is back tested research, is going to be anywhere between 0.5% to 1% on a daily basis. And the thing about those markets and the currency market, the commodities market, the metals, and the ETFs, is that they're very efficient markets. So the majority of the time they're just chopping around. So for me, I would have just gone back and probably added equities into my watch list and ETFs, traded some options as well. But going into the part of how I made my first $1 million, it wasn't like, hey, you know what, I started off the year with 50 grand in net worth, and by the end of the year I ended up having $100,000 in net worth. For me, when I made my first $1 million, I didn't even realize I made $1 million, because I was consistently reinvesting into myself, I was reinvesting into my brand, I was reinvesting into other businesses, and I was reinvesting just my money in general and into my life. You know, so when I first realized I had made $1 million, just kind of goes back to my first huge trade of the year, which was January of 2019, I believe, or 2020. I'd have to go back and check the date. It's on my Instagram. This is when the market crashed on USD JPY. It was that year that I really made my first $1 million. The year prior, I had done very well for myself, but it wasn't like I made a ton of money. So the thing about it was, my progression wasn't like as smooth as everybody would kind of picture your first $1 million should be, where it's like, hey, you know what, you look at your bank account, you see $1 million. That wasn't the case for me. Like I said prior, I was consistently just reinvesting into myself, my knowledge, and my overall growth. So the way that I would trade at that time, and I still think this is a very effective way of trading actually, would be that I would deposit, let's call it 20 grand into a trading account. I would try and make as much money in that trading account as I possibly can, going very aggressive with the risk. Say I wanted to deposit like $50,000, to give you a better example, into a trading account. Instead of depositing 50 grand, I would move that 50 grand into a separate checking account. I would then grab half of it. I would grab $25,000. I would send it over to the brokerage that I was using at that time, and then I would trade as if I had 50 grand in the account. Because the problem is, when you actually are trading with $50,000 and you decide to put that whole 50 grand in the trading account, what's at risk isn't the money that you necessarily put into the trade, it's the entire account at all times, especially if you're trading on a platform that lets you trade whenever and basically 24/7. So that's how it actually trades. So I was trading a $25,000 account with $50,000 worth of risk, let's call it. And I would be very successful, especially in the short term. I would make anywhere between like $10,000 to $20,000 just off of those 20 grand. And what I would do is, once I would double the account, I would immediately withdraw my initial investment, so $25,000, and I would immediately continue to actually trade, because I recuperated my $25,000. And essentially I've turned 50 grand into 75